Everyone, welcome to episode number 30 of our Move the Needle podcast. Before we get into today's incredible episode with Amy Richardson from Savvy Realty Group, Dr. Will Moreland, and one of the most incredible volleyball players in the country, we want to say thanks to Tutor Doctor, Keystone Montessori, Amy Richardson, and of course Vero, where we're going to be recording this episode today. So hang tight, we'll be right back with the show.
Buying or selling a home is one of the most important decisions you're going to make, so you deserve someone who truly cares about your journey. I'm Amy Richardson with the Savvy Realty Group and HomeSmart. Living and raising my family in Ahwatukee for nearly 20 years, this community isn't just where I work, it's my home. Growing up in the Midwest, I learned early the importance of connections and relationships. These values shape everything I do. From our initial conversation to long after you've settled into your new home, I'm here to provide ongoing support and guidance. From staging to cutting-edge marketing strategies, we expertly showcase your home to sell swiftly for the highest possible price. So if you're ready to buy or sell, please reach out to me. And remember, important decisions require savvy solutions.
Hi, I'm Kim Selchin, owner of Tutor Doctor of Ahwatukee, Chandler, and Gilbert. We understand every student is unique, which is why we meet them where they feel most at ease, whether online, at home, or in a public space. Our academic coaching is designed to help even the brightest students overcome organizational challenges, sharpen study skills, and build confidence, empowering them to achieve their best. From kindergarten to adult, we believe every student can be successful. We also have expert SAT and ACT coaches to help teens with college admissions and scholarships. I'm excited to learn how we can partner with your family to help today's learners become tomorrow's successful adults.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 30.
I can't believe we're here already.
Of the Move the Needle podcast. Now, I'm really excited about today's show. Our first guest is somebody I read about in the Ahwatukee Foothill News. And as soon as I got done reading this article, I said, we have to have this guy on the show. And then I reached out to him right away. I went to his website. I started Googling him, and I asked him very kindly. I said, will you do us the honor of coming on to talk about your work? And so he's here. He obviously said yes, Steve.
Yes.
And Dr. Will Moreland is with us today. How are you, man?
Man, I'm fantastic, man. Super excited to be here with you, and really been excited about coming. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
This is going to be such a great show. How long have you lived in Ahwatukee?
We've been here for 12 years.
Okay.
For 12 years, we've been in Ahwatukee. Moved to Phoenix in 2010 from Germany, but then moved to Ahwatukee in 2013. So 12 years now.
Yeah, man. So his kids are you got a kid at DV?
Yeah, have a kid at DV, have a daughter who graduated from Mountain Point. So yeah, we're all into Ahwatukee. We're Tukies.
Two DV grads myself.
Yeah.
My daughter just didn't start at ASU. My son's a little older. So
nice.
And then mine's a senior there this year, and I also have a sophomore at DV. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got to tell my son. All right.
We're all in there together.
We're all
man.
in there.
So Dr. Will's regarded as one of the most transformational speakers in the world, man. He devotes his time now to training other speakers and authors, which is what got my attention because that's a world I've moved into in the last 3 years after leaving radio. He splits his time between St. Martin and here, which seems like a rough way to go.
Rough way, man.
And, you know, one of the things that I thought I would start with, because it kind of lends itself to the landscape of who this guy is and what he's about, is you were one of the people who was the recipient of the 2023 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Living the Dream Award.
Yeah.
I did a little homework on this, Steve, and he got that award the same year my buddy Cordero Holmes got the award.
Oh, wow.
So Cordero and I have done a lot of work together in the prison systems.
Yep.
And a year prior to that, one of our other former guests, Lloyd Hopkins,
Lloyd.
the guy that I started Title I Tech with, he received the award as well. So I want to ask you, what does it mean to win something like that?
You know, it's really humbling. The work that you do, you never do it, and I know this sounds cliche, you never do it for the awards, but whenever you have the opportunity to be acknowledged for doing what you love and what you're passionate about. And obviously Martin Luther King is someone that anyone would want to be mentioned with. And so to be mentioned with someone like Martin Luther King and to win an award in his honor was really humbling.
Okay. So that sort of sets the stage as to who he is and what he's about and all the work that he's doing. But you don't get there overnight.
Yeah.
There's a backstory there, and I know that's where you really wanted to
Yeah,
start.
I want to know where it started. Again, we're amazingly so many, in my opinion, fantastic people come from Compton, where Compton gets this kind of this name that maybe not the most positive connotation, but honestly, the people that come out of there, so impressive. You being one of them. Can you talk a little bit about growing up there and how did you get here from there?
Yeah, I tell people when I think about Compton, I think about that quote. It was a tale of two cities, right? Unfortunately, Compton got the name when I was growing up as literally the worst city in America. But for me, it was just home. It was where grandma was, right? And so inside of my house, I learned about faith. I learned about character. I learned about integrity. I learned about being a community servant. My grandmother was heavily involved in the community. And so we always had politicians. We always had the Mayor Tucker, Councilman Adams. All these people were always in and out of our house. But then on the outside of the house, it was gangs, it was drugs, and it was all these heavy influences. But for us, it wasn't this bad place. It's just you learned how to navigate.
Right.
Like you hear the gunshots, you know how to duck, right? You know not to go down that street, but it wasn't bad to us. I didn't realize that Compton had this stigma until I moved away, and I would tell people I'm from Compton, and they would be like, "You're from Compton?"
I meant they would treat you different
Right.
as
They
a
would
result,
treat me
right?
different. But for me, to your point, it was I saw so many talented people. I walked every day past Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, his grandmother's garage, and I saw them in the garage making beats, making music. And so then when they got on Yo MTV Raps and I could see my city, I was like, that's my city.
You're proud.
I know those guys.
Yeah.
I know that house. Wait a minute, that's my uncle's house. And so for me,
badass.
it was a tale of two cities. Even though people called it a bad city, to me, it's just always been home.
I want to know, there's a lot of talk now about, what things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Yeah.
And you grow up in a city like that, and every city's got its stuff, but Compton had a lot more
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, of
right?
course.
So on what level do you credit the toughness that you had to kind of endure as the person who you are today?
Yeah, it does give you this fearlessness. I know you're from New York. I'll tell you, New York was probably the only place that I visit that I was afraid of, right? Everywhere else I've been to, I was in the Army and been to war, and it did give me this type of, man, I'm from Compton. I've seen this before. And so we were saying that before we got on air. I've seen things, by the age of 5 that most people will never see in their life. And so for me, it did give me this sense of, I'm from California, I'm from Compton. Whatever life can throw at me, I can handle it. And so I do. It's a pop. My wife says it's a negative and a positive because I do have this kind of, I can get through anything.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, there's a toughness. I mean, I'm not going to say that, compare experiences, but growing up in
Well, as
the
I always
city.
say, trauma is in a contest.
Yeah,
okay?
Right. Trauma is not a
It's not a
contest.
contest.
Exactly. I'm more pointing the city where which I did. You grow up fast, and that's what it is. You're seeing things and experiencing things that, again, like a lot of adults don't see on the streets, and you take it one way or the other. Either sometimes you run left or you could run right, and so thankfully it seems since we're sitting here, it looks like we made the right turn, but a lot of people don't, unfortunately.
people don't.
And that's that's the sad story.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so I mentioned that my buddy Cordero Holmes won the MLK Award the same year that you did. And one of the reasons that I really respect Cordero is we both speak at the Durango Detention Center together. And he is really clear about, man, it's an information gap.
Yeah.
The people that are there, they just got different information than the other people. You mentioned your grandmother, and you mentioned all these, politicians coming through the house. Your home was different than other homes in Compton.
Yeah.
Speak on that a little bit and the importance of who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. So not until very recently, and I thank you for this question, because not until recently, I didn't realize how powerful the environment I was in and how how fortunate I was. When I think about the block that I lived on, it was filled with grandmothers that were raising their kids and raising their kids' kids. And when I look back, how amazing this was to see my grandmother, see Miss Knox, see Miss Kennedy, see Miss Ada, and these women own homes. They owned homes in the 1970s when women were just allowed to get checking accounts on their own in the late 60s, early 70s. And my grandmother, the house that we lived in, this was her second house. And so to see the ecosystem that these ladies created, back then, you would get a knock on the door and one of the kids would be like, can I borrow some sugar, or can I borrow 2 eggs? And the grandmothers had this ecosystem. Hey, if I'm short of anything, you can come to my house and get it. And so growing up, I didn't realize how powerful that was, having politicians in the house and having my grandmother work for a nonprofit and always have our house open to anybody that was in trouble. She set a real foundation for me. And even when I would complain and be like, Grandma, this is our last sugar and you're giving it away, or this is our last cup of milk and you're giving it away, she always used to tell me, you never lose giving. You never lose giving. And so that was her mantra. She was never going to be without, because she was always giving.
Yeah, a lot of people have picked up on that. It's the giver's gain.
It's the giver's gain.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, now you spend your time working with, you're training other speakers, you're working with authors, consultants. You have 3 popular keynotes. I did a little digging on your website, and you talk about leading with civility, you talk about happy people, happy cultures, and you talk about living from your core, which is an acronym. Let's start there. Living from your core. What is the C, the O, the R, and the E?
Yeah, so the C stands for clarity, the O stands for opportunity, the R stands for relationship, and the E stands for experience. And how I got here was when I was 35 years old, I was looking in the mirror one day, and I did not know who I was looking at.
This is the clarity piece.
This is the clarity piece. I didn't know who I was looking at. I knew all the titles people called me. I knew all the accolades that I had. But to be honest with you, like all of us, we're given so many labels in life. And so I knew I was a husband. I knew I was a father. I knew I was, a pastor. I knew I was a doctor. I knew I was an entrepreneur. But at the core of who I was, I didn't know. I didn't know if I really liked rap music or I only liked it because I grew up in Compton and I saw it. I didn't know if I really liked fried chicken or if that's just because that's what grandma cooked every Sunday. I didn't know if I liked escargot. I didn't know if I liked country music or if I liked rock and roll music. I didn't know if I liked skiing. I didn't know if I liked horseback riding. I didn't know if I liked water sports and things like that. And so I decided that I was going to go on this thing that I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Now I have language around it, but I called it my clarity journey. And I said, you know what? For a whole year, I'm just going to try everything that I've never tried before. And this was a very pivotal time because I was pastoring at the time. I decided to step down from pastoring. And that's when we decided to move back to the United States. But for a whole year, I went skiing, I went camping, I ate all different types of food. Because if you ask me, Will, do you like camping? I wanted to tell you for sure, either I liked it or I didn't like it. And I wanted it to be my idea. And so that's how I came up with living from your core. First, you got to get clarity on who you are and how do you want to live the rest of your life. If we're fortunate, we get somewhere like 70, 75 years on this planet, right? Anything over that, that's really icing on the cake. So you really need to determine how do you want to live life? And then you want to find the opportunities that allow you to do that. So I like connecting with people. I like traveling. So being a speaker allows me to do that. And then relationships. Who are the most important relationships in your world, your family, your friends, your associates? And then experience. How do you want to experience this amazing world? And it is really an amazing world. I've had the opportunity to travel to 50 plus countries, live in 5 different countries. countries, and I absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that people are amazing human beings. And if you don't take the time to understand people, know people, then you're left with assumptions, right? You're left with assumptions. And so I love to travel. I love to interact and talk to people. And so that's living from your core. When you have those 4 elements going on, that's when you're truly living your best life.
Yeah, I read that 50 countries.
Yeah.
Starting from Compton, traveling 50 countries. What would you tell your younger self if you can go back in time after? What type of
Put the seatbelt on.
Yeah,
Put the
go
seatbelt
back.
on. Here we go.
I would tell myself, you're one choice away. You're one choice away. And I would also tell myself that from here, you can get anywhere. And a lot of times we think our situation stops us from going to where we want to go and doing what we want to do. And we talked a little about this earlier before we got on camera, just the challenge of the environment. And so I was very blessed at the age of 18 to join the military. But up until this point, for 18 years, I did not travel more than 20 miles outside of Compton, California. So I was very sheltered, right? I never went to a different state. I had never been outside the country. And at 18, I was able to join the military. And that was the first time I got on a plane. It was the first time I went to a different state. I was stationed in Kentucky for basic training, then went to Maryland. It was the first time I saw snow. And then I get sent over to Germany, a whole different country. And that just literally transformed my life.
I'm going to ask you a question. So in the radio business, you know this, Steve, I moved all over the place, right? Like you look at my map, it's like it would make most people dizzy. I had a couple of stops on the tour, as I call it, that I went to cities that I didn't expect to like, that I fell in love with. Yeah. Did you visit and did you live in any place that you didn't expect yourself to love it as much as you did?
Definitely Germany was number one. Like I had no clue about Germany. The only thing I knew about Germany, I think I remember watching President Reagan say, Gorbachev, bring that wall down, and then Hitler. That's all I knew, right? That's all I knew. Right. And so even when I got my orders and I'm telling my mom, I say, hey, Mom, I'm going to be stationed in Germany. She's like, oh, my God, that's Hitler, you know.
That's
and so
scary.
that is scary. But the people of Germany were just amazing. The whole experience was amazing. And then my very first time I went to Ghana, that just blew my mind because the outlook that I had of Africa was literally, you remember those commercials they used to show about starving kids and, you know, feed my starving kids and Ethiopia and things like that? That was my only framework. I had that, and I had, it's starving people and the jungle.
In huts, yeah.
In huts. And I get over there and I meet some of the most brilliant people that I've ever met in my life. And so that was an amazing, and then I'll share one more. First time I went to India. India was
mind-blowing.
It was just once again, people are so amazing, and if you don't take the time to learn, you really are left with just assumptions, and assumptions rob you of the beauty of humanity.
All of those places sound similar to your description of Compton and the Tale of Two Cities, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe that's the common thread of what kind of blew you away about that. It was like, Ghana has this, but it also has this. Germany has this old history, but it also has the people of today, you know? And so that seems to be a common thread between what gets you stimulated a little bit.
Well, you know, that's life. That's humanity, right? There's two sides to every coin.
That's it.
And unfortunately, many of us get stuck on one side. And that's the only way we see life, through that one side. And so I have another presentation that it's called Seeing the World with New Eyes. And it challenges people to see the world with new eyes, to have different conversations. And when I teach this in corporate America, to go around your office and just ask people, you know, if I ever went to Buffalo, what should I see? What should I experience? If I ever go to Minnesota,
wings.
Exactly. What should I see? What should I mean?
Yeah.
And And in doing that, you widen your perspective and you understand the world is just so much bigger.
Zoom out, man.
It's so interesting you said that. The other day I was pondering, they were talking about, I forgot, I was watching a show, they were talking about the college experience. And I would say, so I went to school, I got the privilege of going to school in Boston, Northeastern University. I would say college isn't necessary. I'm not going to sit here and say it's necessary, but what you do get in college is you get to experience what you're talking about. Actually, it's a place like Boston where all these people from all these countries come to one place. And I had friends from all 50 states. So I went from Buffalo, little Buffalo like you, knowing people in my little bubble, to Boston, and then having friends from California, tons from New Jersey and Minnesota. I mean, because we have a great hockey team. So Canada, everywhere. So I think that's the college experience. If you to the audience out there, any parents out there, if you didn't go to college, to me, what Dr. Will's talking about, that's the experience I think a lot of people get in college that they can't really put their hand on, like what they gained. Like there's books, and then there's the friends and the experience. Hey, listen, I never talked to this person like that. I thought they were this way. These are the nicest people I've ever seen in my life. That's what I experienced too.
Yeah. Well, just get out of your bubble.
Get out of your bubble.
That's the greatest thing I ever did, was leave the house at 19 years old and just go see this big earth on myself. Let me learn from myself what these people are about. We're going to be sitting down with Amy Richardson here in a little bit. We're going to sit down with an incredible volleyball player. She's a student. She used to go to DV, but now she's so good at volleyball. She's kind of leaning into that full time. Before we get to that, though, one last question I want to ask Dr. Will Moreland. You talk about helping people discover their genius. Yeah. What's your genius?
So my genius is connection and communication. And when I talk about genius, I believe everybody has it. And what it is just everyone has something natural in them, right? And if you discover it and then you begin to develop that genius, then you can hone that genius and share it with the world. And so for me, it's connection and communication.
What's your genius, Steve?
What's my genius? I would say my empathy is my caring for people. I've always cared for people. I think we've talked about that. And so I don't know if that's a genius. It's something I have. It doesn't matter what I do. I care a lot, and sometimes too much.
And let me tee that up. And so that's what happens with genius, because when we think about genius, we think about Aristotle, we think about people like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, right? You have to be in the arts or you have to be in tech, but empathy is a genius, right?
Thank you.
And because we're not taught that in school, it could literally be overlooked because they're not teaching that. And so you're not going to get applauded. Like if you tell your teacher, I'm just empathetic, it's not like you're going to get an award for that. And it's not until we get older, that's how hospitals are built. That's how care facilities are built. That's how individuals become nurses and doctors, because of empathy, because they care. And so it truly is a genius.
Yeah, thank you on that. There was something I would say is important. We talked a little about that. I had a friend at a very early age. I went to grammar school where this stems from and he came to me one day. He was just a kid. I was in third grade, and he said he didn't have a dad. Yeah. It floored me at that time. When you have your family, and he's just in any ways, it's just at that moment I could point to that. In third grade, I came home and I talked about. My dad still talked about. I was so shook by that and struck by that. We adopted him, by the way. He ended up playing virtually. My dad coached him in baseball and all the way through. So again, that's where I guess that's where my outreach would be. Is I care. I really love people. I love meeting people I haven't met before. It gives me a charge. I think that I feel connected, and that's another thing too. And the more I go out, the more I feel. Matthew, we talk about this all the time too. Like we're so different, but yet we have these conversations, and we're 1 degree away from friends and acquaintances and things we love too. So we're a lot more similar than people think.
We definitely are.
And I've got one more question too before I go. So you've traveled most of the world. Seen all different walks of life. What's one of the funniest or most unexpected or misunderstandings you've seen in all these travels? Like just something that just struck you, kind of almost like you were saying before. Like,
I'll tell you, I was my first time in India. I went there to go speak, and as I'm speaking with a translator. And so here in America, we go like this, right? We go like this, we shake our head like this. And so as I'm speaking, I'm asking the audience, do you understand what I'm saying? And so in India, when they say, we go like this to say yes. In India, they go like this.
And you're like.
And so I'm talking and I'm saying, so do you understand? And and so I'm thinking, no.
What is that, sort of? What is that, right?
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me think of another example. So I turned to the interpreter. I'm like, I'm out of examples if they don't get it. And he's like, no, they get it. And so that was the thing that made me laugh in the hotel.
I love that, Dr. Will. You nailed that.
Yeah.
That's a cultural
Do
misunderstanding.
you see why I was so excited to get this guy
dialed
on?
in.
I
You
knew
are
he would
dialed
be a
in.
great guest, and you have lived up to the hype,
I
man.
appreciate you guys.
Inspirational.
Man. This is
Dr.
amazing.
Will Moreland,
Thank
what's
you.
the easiest way to reach out and touch you if they want to?
Anywhere on social media at Dr. Will Speaks. That's my website as well, drwillspeaks.com. So
Okay.
anywhere on social media at Dr. Will Speaks. I would love to connect with you.
Okay. She might
Thank
be
you.
the tallest guest that we have had on the podcast so far. She's coming up next. She is a world-class volleyball player.
Yes.
Second in the state, ranked nationally. Her name is Hayden Connor, and she'll join us next.
At Vero Chicago Pizza, we focus on quality and a great pizza experience. With over 30 years in the business, we've perfected our craft to bring you the best. Our pizzas are made with top quality ingredients, creating rich flavors that capture the essence of Chicago-style pizza. And our family recipes like the homemade meatballs and Italian beef sandwich add a special touch to our menu. Enjoying a meal at Vero is about more than just food. It's about making memories with friends and family in a welcoming space. Join us at Vero Chicago Pizza and taste the difference for yourself. We'll see you soon at a Vero near you.
Hello, I'm Laura Hertzler, head of school here at Keystone Montessori, nestled in the Ahwatukee foothills. We are celebrating over 25 years of serving the community with authentic Montessori education. Our community at Keystone is home to 12 classrooms serving children from 15 months to 15 years old. We take great pride in each of our Montessori environments that support our students at each stage of their development. Please call us today for more information. We would be happy to welcome you to the Keystone family.
Well, welcome back. It's segment 2 of episode 30 of our Move the Needle podcast, recorded live from Vero Pizza, one of our favorite pies on the entire planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so exciting. We have our first high schooler on the podcast.
This is cool.
This is going to be great.
Yeah, no, we just wrapped up with Dr. Will Moreland, which I encourage everybody to go back and watch, because I can guess that there's a lot of people who just came in to see what Hayden has to say. But Hayden Connor, she is ranked, if I'm reading this correctly, second in the state, and plays for AZ Storm Elite. She used to go to DV. Now she goes to Corona because, as she told me, the volleyball's, it's a little bit more serious there.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have so many logistical
Forgot
questions.
one thing.
What?
Already a University of Washington commit.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
See, it's on the list.
Oh, but that's like
It's a
top
big
of
deal.
my list. That's the biggest deal.
Yeah. Well,
No, I'm
before we
sorry.
talk about that, I wanted to talk about how she got there.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So I'm just setting the stage.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
you are committed to the University of
Yes,
Washington, which is super cool. Your position is a middle blocker outside hitter. What does that mean? Because most of us, we watch volleyball and we're like, I don't really know what everybody's role is. So what is that position responsible for?
Mostly just defensively. It has in the name blocking. That's one of its biggest jobs, is always being up on the net.
So when people are trying to spike, you're trying to block it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to defend our side and not trying to have it come back over, And yes, like, we can hit, and yes, we can also be offensive, but our biggest job is defending our court and, keeping our passers safe and, getting the good touches on the block, which can slow the ball down, making it easier for us to get that ball up and attack easier.
So that means, like, somebody hits the ball pretty hard, but you get a hand on it at least, which slows it down just enough for your crew to react and get it to where it needs to go.
and then we can all reset and get ready and just spike the ball down.
I can respect that.
Yes.
Steve and I are big hockey fans, and in the hockey world, they always say defense wins championships,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
It is the truth. You're 6'3". You've got a standing reach of 95 inches. Is it fun going through all of this stuff to figure out what your measurements are and where you stack up with the rest of the world?
Yeah, I personally think it's fun, just seeing the growth, like, how I probably could barely touch that 2 years ago, and now I'm already up here. It's just like going through all these trainings and having to work for it. I think the end result is really what the best is.
Yeah. Now, were you always the tallest one of your friends?
Out of my friends at school, yes, I was. But for volleyball, as I got older, no, just because, it gets competitive as you get older. Everyone's taller. Everyone goes through growth spurts. Right now, I'm not the tallest on my team. I think I have 2 girls taller than me, but when I was younger, like, I was the tallest.
Yeah. That is such an interesting thing, being a tall girl, right?
Yeah.
Are there moments where that bugs you being tall, or have you learned to like really embody it?
Yeah, younger I was definitely embarrassed of it, because like the boys that you would think they'd be taller, but they're not. And everyone, it's like always the same questions. What did your parents feed you?
Right.
How tall are your parents? How's the weather up there? That's a classic.
I'm afraid to take our picture after the show.
Listen,
Gosh, I'm going to have to stand on a chair.
It's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, as I got older though, I embodied it. I mean, right now, I wish I was taller, just because, which is crazy, because when I was younger, I would never ever say that. But right now, I love being tall, and it just makes me stand out compared to everyone else.
I love that.
Brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, all right. Well, now we get on to what Steve wanted to talk about. She's committed to the University of Washington.
I didn't say I wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to list that. I just want to make sure it wasn't forgotten.
How does that even happen? Who makes the first phone call? Are there other colleges that are in the mix that want to talk to you too? And then what is it about the University of Washington that you go, yes? That was 30 questions in one. So you just take it as you want.
So I'll answer your first question. So on June 15th of our junior year is when we could finally start, calling coaches, texting them. So on my June 15th, obviously a bunch of college coaches contacted me. So, and you have to weigh out your options. You can't obviously cancel out all these, because you got to be safe. You don't know where you're going to go, and a bunch of things can happen. And I had a few options, and it's hard figuring out which one you think is best, because anything could happen. Got to find out what program's the best, what coaches you like, the players. And obviously you would love to visit the school, but it's hard because you can't do official visits until I think it's somewhere in August or September, which is 2 months or a month later. So it's it's like a gamble basically, but that's what the calls are for. So you kind of get to know them, they get to know you, and they can see if they like you or if you like them. And Washington just stuck out the most to me. We had our first FaceTime call with the head coach, and it was just the most chill call. I wasn't stressed. All the other calls, it kind of felt like business calls, where I was I had to be very, I don't know. It wasn't as I don't know how to describe
easy.
it. Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
easy.
the word. You want that ease in there for
the answer
the
just came to me, and it was a normal call, talk I was having with someone, and that's what really struck out to me. And then I took another call with the University of Washington with their assistant coach, and same exact thing. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. And I've obviously want a really great relationship with my coach, because if you don't, then it can be very, very bad.
Sounds like that was the deciding factor. The coaches roped you in. Good job for them. That's for sure.
Yeah, do you have a history with the University of Washington? Any family members have gone there?
Yeah, I do. So I've actually visited Washington many times when I was younger. My dad's brother, he lives in Washington with his wife and kids.
That's great.
So I visited there many times, and they actually live 5 minutes away from the University of Washington.
Oh, it's so nice having family that close.
Yes. So it's great to know I have family there that I can visit if I get homesick or anything like that. So
how are your parents throughout all of this? Because I'm going to tell you, one day maybe you'll have kids, right? And as a parent, if you're doing it right, you just want your kids to excel. You just want them to be the best they can be. And if they do it really, really good, they're better than you in every shape and way. They just kick ass. And so how are your parents in this setting? Are they easygoing? Are they encouraging? Are they helpful in guiding you to where you want to be? Or are you this is my vision, I'm doing it my way?
Yeah, they definitely helped me the whole way, you know. My dad, he passed when I was 12, so I know he would be proud, and he passed from cancer a few years ago, but I just know he would have been my biggest supporter. And you know, my parents were both very big athletes, and you know, I wish he could see me play at this level, and I know that he would definitely be proud, and especially to where I'm going and being so close to his brother. You know, I feel like he would definitely be by my side, and he still is. So
Yeah.
Hayden, I lost my dad when I was young too, and I can tell you that all of what you said is true.
Yeah.
And you know, he's right there. He is watching you, and I know that that's cliche, and people say that all the time. But to me, you know, if you can land on this simple truth, which is you have the perspective that life is short. And I think that's a really useful tool for you, right?
Yeah.
Because your other kids are going to be like, I got all day to do this, but you've been shown an example that you don't have all day to do it. And so in a lot of ways, this is going to be a fuel for you to just take it up a little faster than the next person, which is probably going to be more useful than you think.
Yeah. So well, I'm going to shift gears here. Let's talk a little. Let's have a little fun here. I know volleyball players are used to their pregame rituals. Can you share with the audience what yours is and what you do?
I feel like I'm very I have to do everything the same. I'm that type of person, you know. I have to. So for volleyball, we have to tape our fingers, and I have to tape it only twice around each finger, and then I have to write the same stuff on my fingers.
Oh, she has a ritual. That's for sure.
Reminders, and then I have to make sure my teammates know this too. My hair has to be perfect. If there's any bumps, I will redo it every single time. And if my hair is bad,
you have nice hair, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice hair.
If my hair is bad, I feel like I play bad, so I have to redo it. And I
look
always
good, feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Look good, play good. Right?
Confidence, boost that confidence.
Yeah, I'm always checking the back of my phone, or ask my teammates on travel tournaments. I'm like, is there a bump? I can't.
I'm glad I asked this. Very, very, very.
Is there hype music in the headphones?
Yeah. So.
That's another
definitely
one.
For not travel tournaments, because we don't have our phones for those, because we give them to our chaperones, so we can go to bed and we're not on them, but it's okay. But
no, it's great.
Yeah,
it's a great.
But for
strategy.
Tournaments here, I definitely do listen to hype music. Definitely, I have my beats in the car, and I'm just locked in.
What's your hype song?
My hype song? I wouldn't really say I have a certain one.
Hype artist?
I listen a lot of Drake. That's my
Drake.
biggest. Yeah, that's my biggest person I listen to.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Over Kendrick?
I don't know. They're kind of tied, actually.
Wow, that's a rarity right there.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel like Kendrick then. Yeah. Actually, Kendrick.
Kendrick's a little bit more hyped up, a little bit more aggressive, kind of in your face, and Drake's a little bit more relaxed, but he does have some great hype songs.
Yeah,
too.
I've been listening to Kendrick more actually recently.
Now, are you at a stage in your development where you're watching how you eat before a match? And I'm a youth hockey coach. I've been in this space for 17 years, and so one of the things we always talk to the guys about is what are you fueling your body with before we get to the action? That's a huge part of the process. And so do you have, getting back to Steve's question, the pregame routine, do you have a pregame meal that you love to eat before you play in your matches?
Yeah, so for tournaments, I love having toast and eggs every morning. I don't know why. It's just very bland, nothing too sugary or nothing too.
Yeah, won't get the stomach upset.
That's actually really good.
Yeah, just toast and eggs. That's what I usually have in the morning. And if I'm feeling it, maybe a smoothie, but it depends, because I don't want to eat too much to where I can get sick. But I usually just make that, and it's enough. And then obviously for snacks, during tournaments or practices, I'll be bringing fruits, bars, and I'll bring these liquid IV packets that I just put in a water bottle, which our team loves and I love too. So,
are you intense on the court? What is it? Do you talk a lot of smack? Are you the hype girl with your teammates? What's
quiet leader?
Yeah. What are you like on the court?
I definitely I sometimes I have talked smack. It just kind of comes out. I don't know. It just I'm definitely the one.
It just comes out. I love that.
All my coaches, they definitely talk about it. They say it's the dog in me.
Yeah.
And it comes out in those important games, or when the other girls on the other team are talking smack, and I'm like, who are you talking to right now? And
Ooh, you stand out.
especially
Nice.
or especially if they stare down one of my teammates, and I'm like, okay, just wait. And then I block on when I'm like, yeah, like you shouldn't be doing that. But yes,
Smackdown.
Yes.
Just a smackdown, right?
Yeah, you can ask. Yeah, my coaches, they love it. They love it, and I post a bunch of videos about it, of my reactions of stuff, and I bring that energy, I feel like, to the team. You know, my first year with my new club this year.
This is AZ Storm Elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I brought a lot of energy. That's what my coach told me, and she said everyone loves it, so just keep on doing it. Don't tell anyone, like, don't let anyone say you can't do it.
So obviously, on the flip side, obviously you're a leader. You got all these points, humility. You must have had, all athletes have an embarrassing moment. Share with the audience.
Yeah.
You've had to have an embarrassing moment.
On the court, I would say, as middles, we aren't very known to be very good passers or defenders. So when we go back to serve and we have to play defense, it's very scary for us because we're not used to it. So I would say during my school season one time, someone passed a ball, but it kind of shanked behind us. So I was running to go and get it, and I dove to got it, but one of my other defenders was trying to get it, and she tripped over me, and she fell on me, and it was so
like the Three Stooges type of scene. Yeah.
Like I went, and then she went, and then I already knew it was embarrassing, and I just got up and was trying to, and then I got it up somehow, I don't even know, and then the girl passed it not over, and it was so sad. But
yeah, I love that, showing their humility. But obviously you could tell that she's a force to be reckoned with on the court.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she can laugh at herself too. I love that.
Of course.
Yeah.
What's the goal? Like, what's the end game? You want to play in the Olympics? Is like, what do you hope to do with volleyball?
Honestly, I'm not sure yet. It's definitely, it's something to think about in the future. But I would love to play at the next level past college if I can. I know it's a lot on the body, so it's definitely something for the future. And but I also need to think about what I want to major in college, and if that will take me anywhere. So it's just kind of those two factors if I want to go work or.
Do you have an interest yet?
No, not yet. I'm also thinking about that too. So
Okay.
It's a bunch of things to think about.
You're young. You
Yeah.
got lots of
plenty of
time to
time.
figure this
Yeah.
out, man. The runway is longer than you think it is,
Yeah.
right? How different is what you do on the court from like beach volleyball?
Yeah, so I played beach volleyball my freshman year, and it's very, very different. People think it's the same. I thought it was going to be the same. I feel like it's harder than court volleyball. It's only two people on a court, and the amount of space you have to cover, and especially me, I'm not the fastest person. So in getting up, it takes me a while. So yes, I can hit, but also defending is another big part. And in the sand, you go so much slower because you're not on a hard surface and you can't just easily get back up. So
Tell you what I'm always impressed by and equal parts terrified is you guys dive for these balls on a basketball court, on that hard court surface. Have you ever sustained any crazy injuries, or have you seen anything that's just oh?
Me personally, not really. Because I don't really dive that much, but when I do, it obviously hurts. 'Cause I'm not very good at it.
Y'all make it look like it doesn't hurt, but it has to hurt.
Because you're just in the game and it's just adrenaline pumping. But with my teammates, I'll hear their bones hit the court, or just hear that big thump, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that hurt. But they don't even have a reaction, and I'm I turn to them and I'm like, did that hurt? And I'm like. And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they have all these cuts and bruises on their knees from all this diving. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can never do that.
Yeah. So you've played in some of the biggest tournaments, I know, I've read, in the country. So she's not only local, she's obviously traveling all around. Can you share one of your biggest wow moments that in one of your tournaments that you just, one of your highest highs? That
the
you can
highlight
share?
reel?
The highlight reel. The highlight of the highlight.
Yeah. I say one of my best games was last year at Salt Lake City. at a travel tournament, and it was the second day, and this game was very important because it was a game to get into the gold bracket. So if we lost, we would just be playing for like, I don't even know.
Right.
But we wanted to go gold. So we had to win this game, and it was very important. And the team that we're playing against, it was called Legacy, and they won the last travel tournament. They got first. And we were like, okay, we know they're good. Like, we got to win. And that game was just so fun. It was so competitive. All of us were just running everywhere. So many great ups. We were all so excited. You know, I was getting a little smack talk, so it got even more fun.
Delivered to you, or you were
Yes.
delivering it?
Back and forth, probably.
Yeah. It was,
I could tell.
And it was, so it was such a great game, and it went to 3 sets, so it was even more fun.
Wow.
So, and that, like, I think it was like 13-15 at the very end. So, like, it was.
Did you get the victory?
Yes, we did.
Congratulations.
There it is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See,
All right.
I could
And
tell the
the-
details on that. Boy, you remember that like it was yesterday. I felt like I was there.
I'm always impressed that athletes can do that, quite frankly.
I actually I remember a lot of games, surprisingly, like so many that we've played. Like, I still remember like each one. It's like
That's amazing. And I also coach. I mean, not going to get into that part of it. Hockey as well. That was one of my biggest tricks I used to tell my players. I used to get them before the game, and I used to get them to visualize all their best plays. Play it over and over. The goal, if they're a defenseman, the hit, the goalies, the saves. Just play it over, because that's who you are. If you think about it, you are your highlight reel. If you think about it,
Yeah.
For sure.
You just can't play that all the time. But anyways, it's just it's impressive for you sitting here with us and sharing your story. So very
awesome.
very impressive. I mean, your stats, we didn't get into that, but I didn't even know what they meant, but they were super high. I'm like I didn't want to read this.
All-state, everything.
I mean,
is
this,
just
that,
incredible.
the other thing, high. I mean, it's like check. Tempe All-City team, Arizona Central All-Regional, first team All-Tournament, Rise and Roar Tournament, 2024 Triple Crown, NIT. Oh, that's one thing. We do not want to leave without sharing with the audience. Also a very proud moment. Do you know Hayden is also an NIL recipient? She's already signed an NIL contract. She's already Nautical Bowls, right? That's the company I said. She's got a rep. She's already earning.
girl.
Loving that.
All right. Well, as we wrap up with Hayden, Connor, 3 questions for you, okay? Ready? The hardest part about playing volleyball is?
the mental part of it. It's definitely that half of volleyball, or even more than half, is the mental part of it. If you're not in a good mental state, you can't play.
Okay. The best part about playing volleyball is?
The friends you gain from it. I've gained so many great people in my life from it.
And the most fun thing to do in volleyball is?
I'd say playing and talking a little smack. I think that's the most fun.
And I'm gonna throw one more bonus on that.
Right.
If you could, I had a question. One ridiculous but legal rule you could change in volleyball. What would you do? Anything.
That's a tough question.
Would you bring the nets up, bring the nets down? Would you bring a trampoline so you could jump up and even get higher to the ceiling
Trampoline in
and
the middle.
just come
Yeah.
down?
That would
I
be
would-
actually super fun.
That would definitely help.
And maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I would say making doubles legal. Like, I know they're starting to get more like laid off on it, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I was looking for. Yeah, something to
Yeah.
maybe make it
What does
fun.
that mean? Doubles?
it's like, so you know, in a setter, and then they kind of like, it's not as clean, so it like the ball spins, and it's like very like not controlled. Making those legal, because I love setting, and sometimes I get called on it, but it's okay.
All right. Cool. Well, we wish you all the best.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah,
This is
and
very
fun.
impressive.
Encourage people. In the show notes, we're going to link to her Huddle profile so that people can go and see what you're all about, watch some of the highlights, and
Become a fan.
yeah, become a fan, man.
Yeah.
And good luck in your senior year, and good luck at the University of Washington.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
thank you for being our guest today.
Yes, thank you.
All right, cool. All right, so here's the thing. When we come back, you may not know this, but it's a buyer's market out there, and this only really happened 4 times in the last 25 years, according to Amy.
And rates are a little down. They're coming down, so we can touch on that as well.
Perfect. Plus, there's a brand new development that's taking place in Ahwatukee. What does she know about that? It's all coming up on our 3rd and final segment here of Move the Needle. Welcome back. It's episode 30, segment number 3, and we're
Yes.
getting ready to sit down with Amy Richardson from the Savvy Realty Group, who has been a proud sponsor of our podcast since its inception. So
Yes.
first and foremost, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And we know we've got the best. We know we've got the best.
We do have the best.
Yes.
So we're going to hit on
Appreciate that.
4 things today and maybe more, but we're going to talk about the new build that's taking place down there in Upper Canyon, the fire station that's going in, the new builds. Maybe we'll get into ADUs, but we're going to start with the fact that it's a buyer's market. And you were just telling me over there at that table here inside Vero Pizza that this is only the 4th time in how long this is
25 years.
4th time in 25 years it's been a buyer's market.
Right. Yes.
So, okay, to the layman, why is that special?
Well, I mean, really, it's because sellers have been used to kind of getting their ways for the last,
How
10
many
years,
Yeah,
really.
right.
And before that, it's really been kind of up and down, but more sellers than buyers. So, again, other than the 2006 to 2008 that we all have kind of PTSD from that
Yeah.
buyer's market, if you will, this is more of a natural buyer's market happening. We have a lot of people who have the golden handcuffs, right? They are mortgage rates of under 5%, and they're saying, why do I want to leave that? What's going to make me decide to leave that? I don't want to, trade my less than 5% mortgage for, 7, 6, even 6.75. It's not causing those people to decide to truly move. So the people who are trying to move, they're starting to list, but the competition is getting tough because the buyers aren't really wanting to reach. They want a good competitive home. They want what they want, and they're driving those prices down because there aren't very many of them.
Yeah, interesting. I was just also reading, and I saw on a television show this weekend about the rates, and economists had a different perspective on it. He actually talked about the percentage. He was saying 65% of the overall market has rates in that 5% that you were saying, and so like that's a huge thing. And so, but they were painting a more positive outlook. They believe these rates are going to creep down, and as soon as they get down, they're saying it gets close to that 5%. It opens up that whole window to where at least when it's in striking distance, where like okay, it's close enough, it's not going to make that difference. A lot of those people will jump off the fence. So these economists were saying they're not that far off, maybe a point and a half off the rates for really things to hum. And
Correct.
They say it might happen this year.
I think that's a little aggressive.
That's what he was saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, the Fed's meeting right now. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern will be the projections, and then half hour later the announcement by Powell as to what they're going to do. But really the projections aren't looking like much is going to happen this year. It's going to be pretty steady. I mean, we're lucky if we get to 6.5 this year, I think.
It seems like there's always 2 types of buyers. Like there's the buyers who have to care about the interest rate because maybe they're more interested in the investment. And then there's people who hey, look, my job relocated me to Phoenix. I have to buy a house. I don't care what the rates are. I need a home.
Yeah.
And so speak to that a little bit. Those are 2 different groups.
Yes, and Phoenix compared to the national market is actually fairly strong. So, I mean, we can talk about what Phoenix is doing and say, oh, well, we're up 43% in active listings in Phoenix compared to last year. That's huge.
Wow.
So that's the buyer's market, right? But we also still have an in-migration of people who have way more expensive areas, San Francisco, LA, Seattle. These are still migrating, right? So we do have a strong market. We're not saying that, our market is in dire straits. We're saying that there are more active listings than there have been, and the buyers finally have a bit of an upper hand.
Are you finding a difference between the luxury piece and just the average market as well?
I would say luxury is faring better right now than the lower level because they're less tied to the interest rates. They're going to take from their investments. They're going to probably say right now, okay, with the volatility in the market, the housing market's actually a great investment right now while it's down.
Right.
So there's a lot of people moving into those $1 million spaces and over versus the ones who are really tied to that affordability factor with the interest rates.
What could buyers be asking for right now that they maybe couldn't get away with 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
Well, honestly, a concession to try to buy down their rate. A lot of what's going on in the market is maybe prices aren't, careening downwards by any respect, but there have been price drops as well as incentives such as seller concessions that are offered by the sellers who really want to sell their home. If their home's sitting on the market for 30 days, they're going to consider, okay, well, maybe I'll offer a 2 or 3% concession to buy down someone's rate so that they can afford to buy this house.
What about things like inspections and some of that other stuff? Are you seeing things like that being waived now?
No.
No.
I mean, the inspections aren't being waived. If anything, buyers are being able to ask for more than they were during the time when a seller would say, you know what, move along, you're too difficult, next.
4
you
people
know.
in line, right?
Right. Now it's
They're
a little
holding
different.
their hand and walking them in the house, right?
Yeah, basically. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, you have seller concessions for either rate buy downs or for corrections, whether it be the roof, like we talked about last time, or
ACs, yeah.
ACs, expensive items.
Boy, I hope that that wasn't. You're saying these rates aren't going to go down this year. I hope that's not the case. I really want them. Me personally, I'm not in the market, but I just want to see. I could just see that if it even gets close to that, the robust. I mean, there's so many people. People want to upgrade. See, that's the thing. Is like those are the people that are on the fence. I think it's every 6-7 years, people just move. They just want to. Whether it's here or there, even in their same community, they want to move sideways, upways, and those people are not going to make any moves until those rates get closer. So in that regards, I just hope they get a little closer, because I think there's that whole other piece that'll be like, okay, now it's time for us to get that home we saw down the street.
Can we talk a little bit about Upper Canyon and the fire station? For people like me who live down here in the foothills, and I know you've lived in the foothills for 20 years, I go on my hike now, and it's just tractors and grading, and the parking lot that I used to park my car is no longer there anymore. That's getting ready to be a fire station. What can you tell us about this new development?
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of information out there. If anything,
Really?
we're all we have a few articles that have been written. I've tried to get some more information, but really the biggest thing that we know, obviously, that was the 373-acre state land trust that was purchased for $105 million by Blandford Homes, and they're building over 1,000 single-family homes.
Wow.
But Pulte and D.R. Horton are also involved in this project. So I think only about 250 are going to be by Blandford, and then 350 each for Pulte and D.R. Horton. And then there's also some multifamily rentals that are going to go into this master plan community as well.
Interesting.
So it's going to be it's kind of a master plan community project, and there's projections as to whether or not there's going to be community center, pool, spa, hot tub type scenarios, pickleball.
Any apartments?
Well, they're just calling them the multi-family rentals right
there
now.
you go.
So yes, I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
basically
Yeah. I
apartment.
wonder if this area here are they gonna build up shops too? Is this gonna become the epicenter? There's a lot. That's a lot of homes.
That is a lot more people, right? So I mean, hopefully, right now, I feel like Ahwatukee has trouble getting enough people in the places that we have. Hopefully it will cause more people to want to come, because more
hope
people
so,
will actually
yeah.
be able to go. And
Do you think retail is a part of the equation?
I mean, not as of right now,
Yeah.
but that's always something that comes later. You get the people first.
Right.
First
And then the
infrastructure,
demand.
Then the demand.
Well, I'm sure
and-
Vero's happy. They'll come down here.
Right.
This is the Chicago Pizza right down the street.
And selfishly, I agree with, I want to see all of these places
Do well.
just really, really flourish. We're staring across the street right now at a complex that it seems like has been vacant since I moved here. A couple of the
Right.
places, restaurants change titles every couple of years, and it would be awesome for a huge influx of people to come and support these local businesses and
Right.
keep everything in our backyard. I do wonder about
Agreed.
the impact of our schools.
Well, our schools are down population right now, so it would actually be helpful for our schools.
So maybe it would work
Yeah.
out in that
Okay.
regard. What do you know about the fire station?
Well, I know I think it's supposed to be finished by the end of this year.
Crazy.
I know, and it's supposed to be one of the most advanced stations in all of Phoenix. It has, I think, 13,000 square feet, and there's the helipad for the medical rescue that's going in there, which is a nice. We're gonna,
Interesting.
yeah, we're gonna have.
because we're right there where people need to be rescued all the time.
Well, I think that's one thing. So I guess our response times are supposed to be one of the best in Phoenix.
We're just gonna have to get used to the sirens.
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's hope not. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
hopefully
Keep
we
them
don't
off
need.
until you get to the area.
We like to have it there, but we hope we don't need it. Right.
One thing that we didn't talk about when we were speaking on Upper Canyon was the fact that Ahwatukee as a whole doesn't have a lot of new builds.
Right.
And there aren't a lot of, everything, almost all the homes are built in the 90s down
Yeah.
here. And maybe,
Well, people have
so-
been waiting this has been
long
talked
time.
for years.
Yes.
Over a decade, I know.
Right, and I know for my own self, like the house that I live in, every house that I look at, everybody is time for a new roof. everybody's needs new AC, everybody needs new windows. Like there's a lot of things that come with having a home that's, dated a little bit. What's your vibe on how excited people are about the new build in Ahwatukee?
It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously one of the things that that will give sellers a run for their money is because a new build community, they can offer lower rates, they can offer incentives, they can get people in the door because they have a lot more flexibility in that than a regular resale seller. So it'll be interesting to see what it does to our pricing. Obviously those prices, I think they're going to start between the 600s, somewhere in the 600s. They haven't yet nailed that down. And then they'll go up to $1 million, between 1,700 square feet and just over 4,000.
It's becoming an average home now. Holy moly.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think if anything, it will, for a while, it will provide some interesting seller issues, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is unbelievable how expensive it's gotten to live in 85045, 85048.
Yes.
Like it's
I
become, we must be one of the top 5 zip codes in the state.
4-5 is.
Yeah, it actually is, because there's lots of $1 million homes there. And not a lot of inventory.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. And you would know after doing your magazine for however many years where it ranks, and so that's actually back to you.
4-5 is right up there.
Yeah, I would
in
think
the whole
we would
state.
be top 5 in the whole state. Only Paradise Valley maybe. And
There's 249 in actually Chandler in the East Valley is one of the higher ones now, where they're like that Fulton Ranch area they're developing. That's a higher end area, but in Scottsdale and Flagstaff actually has some of the highest real estate in the state.
Yeah.
Sucks. I want to move. I want to have a house in Flagstaff, but I can't afford one here and there.
Good luck.
Although I don't like driving up the 17 freeway.
I know. But they're widening that thing now, and when that gets done, I cross my fingers that it's going to be a little bit more of a peaceful drive.
And
up
flying
and back.
cars are coming now pretty soon, with the Waymos, right?
Exactly.
Is there anything else you feel like the audience would be better off knowing today? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think some of the interesting stats are, 24% of the population that's buying is actually a first-time home buyer, whereas it used to be about 40. And the median age of the first-time home buyer has gone up to 38.
Holy
I know.
smokes.
That's huge.
Well, how
so
could
it's
you
just showing affordability factors, right?
$600,000. I mean, who is a 30-year-old
Right.
You're right.
couple going to afford that?
And so that also has led to, casitas, ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, are a big thing because there's a lot of multi-generational.
Yeah, let's end on that. What is that?
There's a lot of multi-generational considerations. People are moving in with either aging parents or the adult children are coming home to stay because of the affordability factor. People are just deciding to, extend the family and live together. 17% of buyers purchased multi-dwelling type of units. And
is there a
that's the
big
highest.
inventory of that kind of thing already?
Well, not as much as we would like, obviously, but the city of Phoenix just created legislation that allowed people to add an ADU or accessory dwelling unit into their backyard. You can actually add up to 2 if you have less than an acre, and you can add a third if you have more than an acre. And that is supposed to allow for affordability, multi-generational living, even rentals, something to allow for more people to be able to afford
like
a
I was
home.
saying, wheeling a tiny home, just drop in the backyard, right?
And it makes a lot of sense, right? You think about how big that baby boomer generation is, and a lot of those people are aging into a spot where, like, it's either throw them in, something else or a home or something like that, or put them in your backyard and keep living with them. And so that's why you want to be good to your kids.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, you want to be good to your kids, so they put you in the backyard, not in the home. Yeah. Outstanding. Thank you so much, Amy.
Absolutely.
And so before we go, what would you say contact you? What would you say about listings or buyer's market? Are there one that you're concentrating on more? Or
I take care of both, obviously. And, I think if anything, you make sure that you have somebody who's good at negotiation, that helps with staging, because right now being more competitive with your house, making sure that it's exactly what it should be for a buyer when they walk in the door, and make sure that somebody has experience in the industry. So.
Yeah, I like the word that she uses, savvy.
Yes.
Like, to me, that's the kind of agent that I'm looking for. Somebody's a little savvy, because that word speaks to, like, I can ebb and flow, and I can kind of do what's necessary. And what she just said, only 2 out of 5 buyers walk into a house and see it for its full potential. And so that's where somebody like you comes
They require savvy solutions.
That's right.
why
Important
she says
decisions
it.
require savvy solutions.
That's
there it
it.
is.
And so, anyways, not because she supports the show, but the reason why Amy and Savvy Realty are part of the show is because she is one of, if not the best in this area, who's lived here and knows the area. So again, I would encourage our audience, if you're in the market, to contact someone like Amy who's knowledgeable and can give you the real scoop on what's going on. She shared a little bit with that. So thank you, Amy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Hell of a show today, Steve.
Yes, packed.
I mean, just so much goodness. Thanks to Dr. Will Moreland. Thanks to Hayden Connor. What an exceptional young woman she's in, and she's just got a bright future ahead of her, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Amy Richardson from Savvy Realty Group, Keystone Montessori, and Tutor Doctor, and, of course, our host podcast facility here at Vero Pizza.
Yeah, and again, like what really an episode of really how we all of our guests are very integral in Ahwatukee, and I hope the audience finds us very entertaining, because I certainly did. And it was just, again, touching all different spots like we did. Love it. Love it.
See everybody for episode 31 of our Move the Needle podcast next time.